There's going to be darkness, and there's going to be great light. And we get to choose which realm we're going to live in. And tonight, God is saying, who do you choose? Which way do you choose? I tell you, you're marked by God for the glory of these coming days. 3 John chapter 1 verse 2, beloved, I pray that in all respects you shall prosper and be in health as your soul prospers. We need to get our soul in line with Ephesians 3:20 and really believe it. Now unto him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works within us. We're going to see more power working within the church. Thinking big is prophetic thinking. Thinking with God's mind and not our own. Coming into partnership with his plan. Reasoning together with the Lord. Wow. My friend that I told you about earlier, she just keeps thinking bigger and bigger. She had just come out of a board meeting when we got there the other day, and she said, this is the best board meeting ever. We just doubled the amount of money we're going to give away this year. I thought, wow, come on. She just keeps thinking bigger and bigger, because the bigger you think, the more you're able to think bigger. Okay, the next point was start small. I'll just finish these ones up quickly, and then I want to pray for you. How many of you want to be ignited with a spirit of revival tonight? And that, a fresh call come on your life to be empowered by God for everything that he has for you. Now, in Matthew 13:31, it says, Jesus presented another parable to them. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field. And this is smaller than all the other seeds, but when it's full grown, it is larger than the garden plants, and it becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and nest in its branches. Matthew 17:20, for truly I say to you, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you. These are the words of Jesus. He doesn't lie. And sometimes we think, well, I can't believe God to do that big thing because it's too big. He says, well, think big and just start small. Because even your small little effort, God can breathe on and make something big come of it. He can spread it, and he can enlarge it if you just give him what's in your hand to give. Everything that we've done as a ministry has just started really small, micro. We just build little micro models of the Word of God, or what he tells us to do. And then he just breathes on it, and it ends up having impact worldwide. I don't even know how he does it. But it's the way the mustard seed works. It's the way that little piece works. And God celebrates the small. So don't think that if you've got a big vision that you have to wait until you're able to put the whole thing. Just start with what's in front of you. Start with what is in your hand. What is in your hand? We started building micro business over in Asia amongst the poor. And I started it with a bag of beads. Someone donated a bag of beads to us. I took them over to Cambodia, and I found a couple who had no money. They were absolutely destitute. And I said, would you like a jewelry business? They said, business? We don't know how to do business. I said, well, we'll teach you. Okay. And we gave them the bag of beads. It was just a bag of beads. We said, let's make some bracelets. Let's make some necklaces out of this. And so they did. And we just showed them how to sell the bracelets and the necklaces to tourists. And they made a lot of money. And they got enough money to buy more beads. And they got money to live on, that they could buy food for themselves and for their children. And that started a business, just a little bag of beads. Well, the business grew, and then it grew into accessories, and then it grew into all kinds of other things, and then it started spreading. And then one business opened up to another little business. There was all kinds of ideas were coming. And before we knew it, the poor were being so impacted that whole villages weren't poor anymore. It just started with a little vision. We can all do that. Just something little. God celebrates the small. Look at Jesus. When he chose Jesus, he said, my Messiah, I'm going to come into the world. I'm going to become man. I'm going to come in, but I'm not going to come in as a big king living in a big castle. I'm going to come as a little baby wrapped in rags, laid in a little manger, a feeding trough. That's how I'll come. Why? I think he just delights in small. That's why I tell my assistant all the time, she's only 5 foot tall. And she says, I'm only 5 foot tall. And I says, yeah, God celebrates the small. Great things come in small packages. Great things came in that little bundle in the manger, right? Changed the whole world, changed the entire universe, changed eternity, or at least our placement in eternity, through a little expression of God's plan. Just started small. What about David? He wasn't even regarded by his family as anyone significant. Sometimes what's in our hand, we think it's insignificant. No, it's significant. It can start something. And David, come on, David, not only was anointed as a king, but he went out and showed the greatness of God. You know, he didn't use the big swords and the big weapons of the day, the choice weapons of the day. He didn't use the king's armor. He just used his little rocks. Just his little pebbles, and he took the giant down with the name of the Lord. It's a testimony to this very day. Celebrate your small. Celebrate it. It's amazing what God can do when you just put something in his hand. Heidi Baker, our beloved Heidi Baker. We know her story. When she was out just in the garbage dump, she didn't have a lot to give in those days. She just gave the bread that was in her hand. But look at her now. She's facing some of the biggest giants in the nations as far as demonic strongholds. And she's fearless. She started with a little loaf of bread. She started with a love measure that reached out to the people in the garbage dumps. And now she loves entire nations, and some of the darkest nations. Some of the nations she goes into, she can't even talk about publicly. It would be dangerous for that. But her loves grew. It started with a measure, and then it grew and grew and grew until it had great impact. Wow. Celebrate your small. And every prayer, no matter how small it might be, start with something. Start with a little prayer meeting for revival. That's what we did prior to 1994. We just were sure that God was going to do. So we just gathered a few intercessors. No one knew that we were meeting even except the intercessors. And we just prayed and prayed and prayed. And there were some days that our prayers seemed feeble, but they were big to God. They were big to him. And your prayers are big to him. Every assignment, no matter how small it might seem to you, can have big impact when God breathes upon it. Every financial investment you make into the kingdom, no matter how small it might seem to you. Look at the widow's mite, what that did for the faith of people all around the world to this very day. Because you'll grow in increments. You know, Olympic champions, they had big thinking. Olympic champions dreamed that they would win the Olympics before they ever did. But their first race was not the Olympics. They had a big dream to run and win in the Olympics, but their first race wasn't there. They just had to start on the track that was in front of them. They had to start with what they had. They had to start with the small and be faithful with it. And then it grew into the fulfillment of their dream. And then finally, the go deep. We think big, we start small, and then we go deep. Resistance is what takes you deeper. And that's where a lot of people give up, is when they see hardships out there in the world, when they see obstacles come into their own life, they'll throw in the towel and say, I lose my faith over this one. There are many Christians that we need to go and reach out to who have lost their faith because of being mistreated in the church, of being, facing hardships in their life, all kinds of different reasons. We need to go and help them get their faith back. Because the very things that the enemy puts in front of you to take you down could be the very things that actually make you go deeper. If it doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger. One secular song said, they stole that from the Bible. Resistance will take you deeper. You will have obstacles to overcome, but there's always a solution. If there's a will, there is a way. My friend that I was sharing with you earlier, she was sharing with us a story about when she was a little girl. I think she was 9 years old at the time, or maybe 10. And she wanted to build a tree fort in the backyard. And there was a pile of firewood out there, and she thought, I could use the firewood to build the tree fort. But her mother said, no, you cannot use that firewood pile. Can't have that. So she got all upset. She said, well, now I can't build my tree fort. I can't have a tree fort now because I can't use the firewood. And so she went and complained to her father, and she said, I can't build my tree fort now. And he said, why can't you? Because I can't use the firewood. And he says, well, what do you have that you can build it with? And he said, you do a little bit of babysitting, don't you? And she said, yeah. And he says, well, how much do you make babysitting? And she said, $3 an hour, that's all. And he said, well, how much do you need to build the fort? Have you calculated that out? She said, well, if I have to buy the lumber, and she thought maybe $100. He says, okay, there you go. $3 an hour babysitting, you need $100. Just count out the hours and get to work. And all of a sudden, she saw the solution, and she saw that she could do it, and she put her hand to it, and she did it, and she built her fort with her father's help. And she's still building forts today. And she still finds a way. She was telling me about some of the obstacles she was facing, how even the government regulations said you cannot build a home for the poor here. And she said, watch me do it. But she started cultivating this deep faith within her, this deep connection to God, through going through the struggles, through facing the obstacles, and through making it. And she was telling me about all the miracles that they've had, not only in permits being written out for them and money being given to them for certain projects and all kinds of obstacles being removed, but you see, she's just started as a child believing that she could overcome an obstacle. And you can learn now, because you're still a child in the Lord. No matter how old you are, you can always start. Her entrance into business was just pressing through to make it happen. Opposition will season you, and it will refine you. Embrace opposition. Don't push it away. Don't defend yourself in the midst of it. Listen to it. When people oppose you, when they give you a different opinion, don't get all in a snit over it and divide over it. Just ask them to tell you all the info, and then assess it. Maybe there's something in that it can change you, and if you're humble enough, it'll make you stronger. And there's some stuff you just have to spit out and love the people through it and everything, but let it define you, let it refine you, let it season you. Let Christ be formed in you. No matter what happens right now in the situation that we're in worldwide, let Christ be formed in you. We don't have to lean into the despair that others are facing. Let Christ be formed in you. Explore the Word for the answers. The Word has the answers. And with all this deconstruction stuff going on today, people are trying to deconstruct the whole Bible and bring it to nothing. Come on, this Word. Jesus said, thy Word is truth, God. His Word is truth, and it's eternal. He says, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. We need to stand on this Word, meditate on it, study it, find out what Jesus says in His Word that has your name on it, and go for it in partnership with Him. Explore the Word for the answers, and don't just take what society's saying. I've had so many people say that lately. Yes, but it's not relevant for today. And, they didn't have, anything like what we're saying right now. So like the F word is fine to say because it's not outlined in the Bible or whatever. It's just cultural today. Think that is a bunch of stupidity. And it's obnoxious and horrible. Just saying. I mean, there's so much that's being handed to us now. We gotta go deep. Just let's grow deep inside. Meditate on the word. Let it be established in you. And intercede. You're gonna receive what you pray for. Get into some intercession. We're at home now praying every single day. We're having prayer meetings specifically for the accelerated presence of God. We're desperate. We're desperate for revival. And every prayer meeting, there's more and more revival presence. There's more and more glory in the room because we're building equity in the Spirit. We're just chasing after God. It's amazing what's happening. Woo. And then let's just give you one more and then we'll pray. Let your disappointments and your devastations be your greatest gift to the Lord. Sometimes when we have a disappointment and that disappointment knocks at the door of our heart and says, you can't believe anymore. You've lost your faith and your hope is deferred and your heart is sick. So just throw in the towel. We can't do that. We need to take the pain, the disappointment, and lay it on the altar and say, Jesus, I don't even understand everything that happened, and I'm hurting really bad right now, but I'm going to turn this into my greatest gift. It'll be my greatest sacrifice to you. I'm giving you my pain. I'm giving you my disappointment. I'm giving you my confusion, and I'm going to lay it on the altar, and then I'm going to go on and serve you and love you and stand for you. And one day, I know one day I'll understand it. One day I'll have more insight. But right now, my pain is my greatest offering to you. I give it to you. And I feel like there's some of you here that you had great faith. Maybe it was to see someone you loved healed. And instead of manifesting a healing, they ended up passing. And you're devastated over it. I remember having that happen. One time I was praying for a little boy with leukemia. We fasted, we prayed, we did night watches, we did everything. The family got inner healed, delivered, everything. And this little boy had faith all the way through to the last breath. And we were believing all the way through, at his bedside, believing, watching him take his last breath and pass over. Devastating. Absolutely devastating. I won't say that it was easy. It was hard. In fact, I never wanted to pray for another person for a while after that because I was so confused about what happened. We were so sure that the little boy would be healed of his leukemia and that he would live and not die and declare the glory of the Lord. And we know that that was the will of God, but why it didn't happen, we couldn't understand. And it came a time when I just had to say, God, I just give you my pain and all the disappointment and all the hope that's deferred, and I give it to you as my greatest gift of worship right now. It's my offering. And there's pain in this offering, but I'm giving it to you, and I will go on. I will go on. And some of you today need to make that choice, because you know what the option is? If you don't make that choice, the option is you're going to be miserable and hurting year after year after year, and it'll just snowball effect. And it's not going to be good for you, and it's not going to be good for others. And God wants to heal the pain. He wants to release you so that you can believe again. He's going to do great things. He's going to do great things. The day's going to come when every child with leukemia will be healed. The day's going to come when everyone with Parkinson's will be set free. Everyone with Alzheimer's will be set free. The day's going to come, church, when we will see the authority of Jesus Christ operating so that everyone that comes to him and desires and longs for his touch will receive it. He says, when he comes, will there be faith in the earth? Is there faith in your heart tonight? Is he big to you? Are you thinking big? Are you willing to start small? Are you willing to let your roots grow deep in him? Because the coming days are waiting for you, and they're glory days. They are glory days, the best ones ever. And church, we must believe that. We must believe the prophetic destiny of the church. We must believe it. You say, yeah, but there's going to be great tribulation in that. Yes, there is, but Jesus isn't coming back for a messed up church. We're going to go through some stuff, but we're going to come out glorious. We're going to come out glorious. He's coming back for a church that's glorious. We're not going to be hiding out in caves and eating tribulation food. There's going to be darkness, and there's going to be great light. And we get to choose which realm we're going to live in. And tonight, God is saying, who do you choose? Which way do you choose? I tell you, you're marked by God for the glory of these coming days. You're marked by God to walk through some of the most treacherous days in mankind's history. You're marked by God to walk through those days in glory and with great testimony and with great faith that will be unwavering and unshakable, because tonight we have opportunity to choose Jesus and only him, because in him is everything that we need. It's not a little bit of Jesus and a little bit of the world, a little bit of truth and a little bit of lies. No, it's 100% Jesus who is our truth, and he is our way, and he is our life. Amen? Is there any in the house tonight? Is there any in the house tonight who choose Jesus?